Artificial intelligence and Laravel, getting past the hype. There's a lot of hype out there. Sometimes developers shy away from technology because of the hype. You don't want to be associated with things that are being advertised. My blender runs with AI, or I actually saw an ad. Our spring water is infused with AI. This is to help you get going, get you started using it just like you would use a relational database. And that's an analogy I want to use throughout this video, as I like to use the analogy between a relational database and an AI engine. So let's get started. It's just another tool set. So in the RDBMS world, we all are familiar with SQL databases. We've got MySQL, Postgres, MariaDB, SQL Server, and of course Oracle. So when you first started learning about how to use a SQL database, first thing you needed to do was connectivity. You needed to connect to the database. Then you learned about tables, columns, rows. And then from there you learned the SQL language. And you need to learn the data definition and data manipulation language. So that's how to build tables and how to actually manipulate the data in the tables. Then you got into indices, joins, relationships, and your knowledge of relational databases went on from there the more you used it. So in AI, it's very similar. We have the big players like OpenAI, Google's in there with their OpenMind, Anthropic, Amazon's working on stuff, C3, Data Robot, and of course we have IBM with Watson. First thing you need to learn about working with these tools is you need connectivity. Then you learn about models. One of the first interfaces you're probably going to work with is an AI chat interface. Then from there you're going to learn about a bunch of different tools, training models, vector mapping, a concept called RAG, prompts, response formatting, roles, temperature, and your knowledge will progress from there the more you use it. So when you first started learning RDBMS, you probably started with something like MySQL, because it's an open source, it's free, you can download it in your local environment and get going. Great way to learn how to use a SQL database. I'd like to introduce what I like to refer to as the MySQL of AI, which is called Ollama. It's a lightweight open source application that you can download onto your machine. You can get it at Ollama.com. We're going to download it, download a model, and do the basic functionality on the command line. And then we're going to access it through a Laravel application. So first of all, I'd like to show you should do it eventually, is you have a Laravel application and you're going to want to connect to something like OpenAI. We're going to look at this first, and then we're going to show you how to set up the local environment. So first of all, you need connectivity. So let's go to GitHub. Luckily, there's a package called Openai-php/Laravel. It's written and managed by Nuno Maduro and Sandro Gary. And what that does is it allows you to communicate with OpenAI through their API. On OpenAI, there's a number of models you can choose from. I recommend that you do this eventually, not right away. I think you should get familiar with your local environment, how the API works, what happens after your trial period is up. It costs every time you make calls and get retrievals. It is pretty fast though. So let's go look at how to set up a local environment. So we need to do connectivity first. There's a package by CloudStudio called Ollama-Laravel, and it's written and managed by Tony Serrano. I think that's how you say his name. And that allows you to connect to Ollama locally. And when you connect locally, there's a number of models you can download. I do recommend starting off with the smaller models because they do take up some disk space, and the larger the model, the more CPU intensive it's going to be. So if you have a really screaming machine, you can kind of venture up into the bigger models. Once you get this up and running, you can now start learning about the AI interface, how to use these models, and integrate them into your Laravel applications. And again, at this point, it's free. So let's go build out a Laravel app and connect. All right, let's go get Ollama. So we'll go to Ollama.com, click download, do a quick install locally, and for documentation, if you go to the GitHub repository, a bunch of commands and basic usage over here. First thing you're going to want to do is pull down a model. So Ollama pull the base model that's pretty small. It's called llama3. Click that, it starts pulling it down. It takes a few minutes. Alrighty, you can see we downloaded this model. We can do Ollama list. So I have two models downloaded. I have the Llama 3.1 and Llama 3. You can see how big they are when I last modified them. So let's take this for a test run at the command line. This is just Ollama running at the command line. No Laravel interface at this point. Let's run Llama 3.1. So as you can see, it's firing up over here. It does take a lot of resources, so that's why I recommend using the smaller models. The whole point here is to get you used to the interface and get used to how to use the AI components, the different tools. Okay, we're ready to go. So we're at a chat interface and we can ask it a question. Let's start off with, what is 2 plus 2? Math is not a big thing for this. It's a language model, so a calculator would spin it back really quickly, but the answer is 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, let's give it a little tougher challenge. Where in the human body is the sternocleidomastoideus muscle located? So let's kind of think for a little bit. Let's go take a look at the activity monitor and see what impact it's having on this machine. There's the memory usage, 5.41 gigabytes. Just to give you perspective, this is a Mac, it's a 2015 MacBook Pro. It's got 2.5 gigahertz quad-core Intel Core i7 and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So it's got the AMD Radeon R9. It's got 2 gigabytes of graphic memory. So it's not a screaming machine. It's kind of old, but it works. It gives you can get up and running on a machine and use the tools and get familiarized with AI and how the interfaces work, how prompts work. OBS Studio's taking a fair chunk of memory, and then Ollama's running. So if you take away the recording, the activity monitor, it's not too bad. Let's go back and see what we got. All right, it's starting to give you something back here. I think there may be a small issue here. There's no muscle as the sternocleidomastoideus in the human body. However, I'm assuming that you might be thinking of the sternocleidomastoid. Okay, I spelt this wrong. The sternocleidomastoid muscle is located on the sides of the neck, runs from the sternum, breastbone, to the mastoid process, temporal bone. So yeah, it's working. It's giving you the response. You can see how fast it is. It's not going to be screaming fast on a machine like this. If you have a more modern machine with some more memory, it's going to be a lot nicer. And again, take into account I'm running the OBS recording and the activity monitor. So there we go. That's the base installation. Now let's build the Laravel app and connect through the Laravel interface through the API. Call it Ollama Chat. We don't need a starter kit. Pest is fine. Let's do a repository in case somebody wants this. Going to build out a Laravel app, real basic. All right, SQLite database is fine. Do the migration, we'll create it. We're not really going to use the database, but just take the default. All right, for this initial connectivity, we're going to use the Ollama Laravel. It's from CloudStudios. We're going to do composer require. I'm going to grab this, and then we're going to publish the config file. I'm going to pull in the CloudStudio Ollama-Laravel package, which allows us to connect locally. We're going to publish the config. All right, let's go look at this in VS Code. So we downloaded Ollama, built a Laravel project called Ollama Chat. We pulled in the API the package for connecting locally. Let's go implement this. So create a directory called AI, and let's call it ochat.php/AI. And we want to use the new, what we got? We want to use that facade, and I want to create a class called Ochat. And let's see, public function is send. It's a string message. So this is directly from the API. It's the usage. So we do the Ollama model to create a prompt. You'll learn more about these things as you get using it, because prompts are very important. Pass in some options. So this takes an array. We're just going to put the temperature. The temperature is kind of like how abstract it can get. So if it can't formulate an answer really quickly. It's how far out can you abstract. Again, you'll learn more about this the more you use it. So it's anywhere from -1 to 0 is the values that are used for temperature. And ask. Okay. And then let's see. Let's assign this to response. And then we'll just return response. There we go. Just to do a basic implementation, show you that it works through the Laravel framework. Let's create a command. PHP artisan make command. Let's call it the Ochat command. When we come up here underneath console, we get a command. Here's where we name it, how you want to call it. We're going to say Ochat. And then a description. Let's go chat with Ollama. I'm going to use Laravel prompts because I'll just make it nicer. The interface will be a little bit nicer. We got to go over to the Laravel website to get the installation. All we need to do is composer require Laravel prompts. Let's grab this. Back to VS Code, we're going to install prompts. So when we make this call, let's use spin. We'll do a function call while it's sending to Sending request. Okay, so now we got the question. That's going to give us the response. Info $response. If we want this to keep prompting you, we're going to put this in a loop. You're going to get the answer. And let's do a while loop. While question. Choose the text. Would you like to keep going? I'll prompt you to ask another question. So when you don't want to continue, let's use the outro. Okay, let's look at it here. Ochat, we create a new instance of the class we defined. We get the text. What is your question for Llama? We pass the question to Ochat. We run a spinner until it gets a response. We give you the response. We enter a while loop while you still continue. We send it again and give you the response. If you don't enter anything, you'll get kicked out. And there you go. Let's try this in the terminal. Let's do PHP artisan Ochat. All right, look at that. Laravel prompts is so nice. What is your question for Ollama? All right, let's ask that other question. Where in the human body is the sternocleidomastoideus muscle located? All right, looks like it worked. Of course, I can't spell, so it found the correct answer. Let's ask one more question before we end. Where are Doberman pinchers from originally? All right, got a great result. Doberman pinchers were originally bred in Germany in the late 19th century, yada, 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 yada. Really great result set. So let's exit out. So it's asking if we want to keep going. I said no. Thank you, bye-bye. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. That's really the basics. I hope that inspires you to learn more about artificial intelligence, connect it to your Laravel applications. This was just a command level, but you take this information and build it into a proper app with views and controllers and make it into see what you can come up with for a real application. I hope you found this helpful. You guys have a great day. Take care.